Hello everybody, and welcome to another video. So today I want to talk about video games that are disappointing. There are a lot of games that have had me filled with hope and just utterly filled me with sadness after realization hit that the game just wasn't going anywhere. Today I want to talk about the games with a very loose script because I want to talk about those games with a sense of genuity. You know, a sense kind of like how the game made me feel. Very sad. So the first game I want to talk about is Texas Chainsaw. When the game first came out, I thought it was going to be huge. I thought it was going to be like this really amazing game that everyone would enjoy and latch onto, and that the devs would just dump a lot of time into fixing up the game, making it better, and I was really hopeful for the game. I thought it had a really good rhythm to it. The only thing is, after about 2 weeks, if even that, the game just became monotonous and every match felt the same. Where you would just get rewarded for bum rushing, and half the time, because there's one more survivor than there is a killer, you couldn't do a lot if they all just bum rushed a single exit, or even all the exits. You have Connie who can like instantly unlock. Stealth felt completely useless. Like I played Julie, I think it was, and after a bit, when people just got used to the game, stealth was pointless completely. I just ran through, unlocked stuff, got stuff open quickly, and it felt like every game was just mid-maxing, and that's not what I wanted to play a game like that for. A game like that, for me, I felt should be arcadey. It should be like, oh, I just hop in, play the game, mess around, hop off, go do whatever else. But the game felt like you needed to know the meta in order to enjoy it, and it eventually just became unfun. Even then, I started playing Killer a lot, and half the time, it felt like you had to check everything at once. Like you had to run around every single spot, and if one person didn't see one thing like one time, so like let's say somebody doesn't see a doors that open, game's over. 2 people, 3 people already gone. It felt super sweaty, and it was, I don't want to say it was completely the dev's fault, because it's also just the way players are. People like winning, and so they'll find the easiest way to win. Like, for example, on House, I had a video where we bum rushed window, got out, and did that. And it was fun for us, but I guarantee it wasn't for the enemy team. Hell, even in that video, I believe some of the enemy team rage quit. And it was really stupid, but it was fun for us, not for the killers. And obviously not every game's going to be fun for both sides, but it became to a point where every game was just steamroll or be steamrolled. Same reason I don't like Overwatch a whole lot anymore. It just felt very samey. It felt like a dice roll whether or not I'd have a good game, and I don't like that. I want to be able to have a good game because I'm messing around with my friends and all that. Also, recently I've seen that the devs just kind of dropped the ball in the whole thing. They've been very shitty towards criticism. I haven't looked a whole lot into it, but I've seen videos popping up, people talking about it on the Reddit or wherever the hell, and it's really sad to see. The cheese strats, I don't know if they've been fixed. Honestly, I haven't touched the game in a while. I've just heard a lot of complaining about Danny, which is like the new survivor. I saw they added a new map. I don't know how recently. I didn't ever even play the fucking first map that they added, the one with Nancy, because we couldn't get into a game with it. Or we'd play on the new map, lobby would just never fill up. That was like the biggest issue. Is matchmaking felt impossible. I don't know if it was just the lack of players or what, but it wasn't fun to just sit there and wait and hope that you get a match within the first like 20-30 minutes. It was stupid. It was a pain in the ass. I kind of just dropped the game entirely. I don't know. I still have a lot of leftover footage. If you guys like to see a video like that with just all of that into one video, let me know. I feel like that'd be kind of fun to do, but it'd take a bit of time, so it won't be up immediately, but yeah. Now I want to talk about the next game. Now, the next game I want to talk about is Vanguard, and I mean zombies in specific. Now, if you've played Call of Duty Zombies like at all and have been like really into it, you'll know how big of a drop this game was. It was, honestly, I had a lot of hope for it when I first started, because I first started and I was like, okay, this isn't bad. I like the way the games feel. I think the perk system is kind of cool, where you get better and better abilities with the perks the more you buy it. I thought that was really cool conceptually. I also liked the fact that you could level up your character, get a new outfit. I thought it was really cool because you could show off like, hey, I play this character a lot. I'm good at the game, or I dedicated myself to unlocking this. And it was a really cool way of like progression. But that just completely flopped. They dropped the ball on zombies so hard. I even went back a while ago and did the Easter eggs including the one for what was it? The remake for Shinonuma. It was Shinonuma. Yeah, Shinonuma. I almost forgot. I was thinking Shangri-La for a sec, but I played that, and it was fun. But it was too little, too late. That was like the end of the game's life cycle. They finally added a round-based map, and even that felt like the bare minimum. And I'm honestly very worried for MW3 Zombies too, because I personally had a lot of fun with it. I already unlocked Borealis. I haven't really touched the game in a while though. I had a lot of fun with the sense of the progression with like leveling up my weapons. I was able to, do a bunch of calling cards, and I still play it from time to time when I'm bored, but there's really no reason to go back. I think I'm only missing the legendary schematic, and that's a pain to get because I either have to get extremely set up throughout multiple matches in order to solo the worm boss, or hope that people in my lobby are going to do it. Which isn't very likely because it's a pretty difficult fight, which I like. I'm not saying I don't like the worm boss, but that's the only reason I haven't gone for the legendary wrench. I already did all the Dark Ether stuff. That wasn't hard because I just had a group of randoms where we just swept through it, and it was really cool. But then I saw that the second season doesn't really have anything going for it. Even this first season, the biggest thing that was like coming was the beginning with the Dark Ether rifts. And from there, what? Not really much has come from that. They haven't added a whole lot, and there's no incentive for me to play the game, and it's really disappointing. I hope they end up doing more for the game, and I hope next year at the very least. I know that's a common thing. Next year will be the year for zombies. That bullshit. It's upsetting. As a zombies player, as a zombies fan, an enjoyer of zombies, if you will, I get so excited for these concepts, like these leaks, like, oh, this is going to be the biggest thing. They're doing so much for this next Call of Duty, and then I get smacked in the face with no round-based on launched, and it's so stupid. It's very disappointing. Especially the lack of, like, personality to zombies. That's a big thing. Obviously, there's no main cast anymore, and I thought it was kind of cool how Vanguard tried to do a main cast kind of thing with the field upgrades, the gods or whatever the hell they were, them having a personality. I thought that was interesting. I thought they could have done a whole lot with it. They didn't do shit with it. And another thing they could do is, why not just give us a main cast, and if you want us to be able to use our operator skins so we buy more, just make it skins for the characters. Make, like, obviously I'm going to use the main four as an example. Let's say you're playing as Dempsey, Richtofen, Nikolai, and Takio. Make a skin for them. Make operator skins for those four. You'll make a hell of a lot of money by making skins for those four. Zombies fans will be like, oh, this shit looks sick. I want to look like this while playing as Nikolai, or whatever the hell. Or I want to look like this while playing as Takio, or some stupid shit. And if you're worried about, like, oh, but not, if you buy a skin for Takio, you won't be able to use it, well, then just don't make it specifically for those characters. Just make it so it's a cosmetic thing. So regardless of which character you are, you're wearing whatever skin you want. Like, I don't think that's big of an issue. I don't know. It's stupid that they just completely gave up on giving zombies a full personality. Like, the storyline, I think, is really interesting so far. I think they can do a whole lot with it, and I hope they do. But just right now, I'm kind of disappointed and sad at the lack of content, because it's something I really enjoy. Now, that brings me to a game that a lot of you might not have heard of, Exoprimal. I don't think it was very big, but I don't really have a lot to say. It was fun, but it didn't really have a whole lot to grind for. Obviously, you could grind for new characters, new cosmetics, and it was very simple. I liked the concept of just, you have your kind of character, you play with a team, and you're playing against the other team in order to reach an objective, and then eventually you start fighting the other team. That is really cool conceptually. And they even executed it pretty well. I think the issue is that there wasn't really much diversity in the maps, the playstyle, the things you killed. Obviously, you'd get more things to kill, like more enemy types, the further along you went, like in level and difficulty. Because from what I heard, it scaled up based on your team's level or something like that. And it was cool, but there was no reason to keep playing. It didn't feel like I was gaining anything really. It wasn't like, okay, this is my new goalpost. This is my new thing. This is something I'm enjoying purely off the gameplay. I don't think the gameplay did enough heavy lifting for me to be like, okay, yo, you guys want to hop on Extra Primal? And then we play it for like more than like 2 or 3 times. Because I think that's all I played it. I had some funny moments on it, but that's really all I have to say about that. There's not a whole lot to say. It just had promise, but not really much to go with. Alright, now this next one, Rainbow Six Extraction, this one came out a while ago. I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I remember having fun with the concept of it and like just kind of going through, clearing out the nest with my friends. I liked the gunplay because it was just siege gunplay, but slightly different. I thought the enemy types were kind of cool. They had really nice designs. It was fun kind of like fighting them, figuring out how do I take out this boss, because some would have different like critical points or different ways to kill them. And it was fun to mess with and like play with, but there was really not much else. It again fell into the category of being very monotonous and repetitive. Like I think I only got past like the first act, if even the first act, before I just completely dropped it, because it didn't feel like, it felt like not enough was changing through levels, and it didn't feel like there were enough playstyles to keep me being like, okay, I want to try this out next. I want to try this out next. It didn't have that. It didn't get me going in the sense of, I want to keep doing this. But yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about the game. I think it completely dropped support, actually. So there's really not much to say about it. It was a flop. Now, the next game I want to talk about is Redfall. Now, I really enjoy the concept of an infested town with vampires, and like vampires have mystical powers. I thought it was really interesting. You start in a pretty interesting area where it's just the water all around you is rising and it's all weirdly held up, and I thought it was a really cool start. However, the rest of the game felt very empty. Like there were safe houses you could unlock, which was cool, and in each safe house there was a quest to defeat a kind of leader zombie, or sorry, not zombie, a vampire. There would be a quest to defeat like a leader vampire or something along the lines, and you would eventually go through all the safe houses, kill all the bosses, and that would be your sense of progression along with the main quest. And it was cool, but aside from that, there wasn't a whole lot to do. Eventually you'd unlock like these dungeon things, which are really fun to run through, but they also, after doing like 1 or 2, felt super samey and wasn't really, there was no real reason to do it. I mean, the loot was alright, but even that's like, whatever. Now, my biggest issue, aside from the poor performance of the game with like the crashing and the really weird bugs, those personally, I can look past those a lot of the time with games like fucking Scarlet and Violet, Pal World. Like, those don't bother me a whole lot. Now, the thing that really was annoying was the constant having to swap weapons. There was no weapon upgrade system, and it was really stupid. Just, I'd have a cool weapon, I'd have a shotgun with a stake on it, and I'd be like, oh, this is really cool. I really like this weapon. I want to keep playing with this gun, but I can't. It didn't allow me to, because I would get over leveled, the gun would be weak, I'd go to a higher level area, and I'd be shooting peas at them. It felt really bad. And aside from that, there was really no reason to do anything aside from the main story. I played through, I got up to the end of Act 1, went to the next area, and it was around that point that I realized this was boring. I felt more like I was playing the game for the sake of playing it as opposed to playing the game because I enjoyed it. And I was kind of upset at that because it really just felt like a waste of time, and it was disappointing because I really was hopeful for the game being fun and that maybe people were just overreacting with like it being buggy and all that. But no, it was a mess, really disappointing, and even now, I'm pretty sure they completely dropped all support for the game. I remember seeing something about, they were like, oh, we plan on getting this game out of the hole, and then they dropped it. They just dropped the ball. And it's really sad to see. It could have been a cool game, but, I mean, it is what it is. Now, these next 2 are some big ones. I'm gonna talk about the smaller of the 2 first. So, I want to talk about Temtem. I absolutely loved it. I made a living dex on the game. I think the only thing I'm missing now, since finishing that living dex, is one new Pokemon, one new pal. Holy shit. Oh my god, my brain. One new tem. Holy. That they've added. And that's my issue personally. I thought the battling aspect was really cool and interesting. I found it a little hard to get into because it was a little more complicated than I was used to, because I'm a Pokemon fanboy. But still, I thought it was really cool. I thought it could have done something with it. But I was really disappointed with the lack of accessibility with getting into it personally. I built a full team of perfect stat Tems, and I thought it was cool. I was like, I'm satisfied with this. I built them up. I gave them the stat spread that I wanted them to have. I gave them some moves that I wanted them to have, and it was really cool. Except for the fact that it is expensive as fuck to do that. It's RNG based because of the way that the shit is, and if you don't want it to be RNG based at all, it still costs upwards of 120 or 100,000 Pansun, which money isn't easy to get in that game. I don't know about now, but back then, bro, that shit was ass. There's no like Elite Four to run through repeatedly in order to get hella money. I guess you do the dojo rematches, but those are genuinely really difficult fights. So you have to build up a good stat team. You can't just out level them. And so getting money was a pain in the ass. And you could do the partial quest to get maybe 1,000, 2,000 Pansun, which is the currency. And even that felt like nothing. The most reliable way was you dedicate hours shiny hunting and then sell it for like 50,000 Pansun on the black market thing or whatever, the auction house. The black market. But I thought that was really cool though. I will say the auction house was really fucking cool conceptually because it added the community sense where people are like, oh, this tem is going up and I want to bid on it. I want to get money for it, or I can buy it outright for this price. I think the auction house was really cool the way they got it, but the issue was that was the only real way to get money early on. Or that felt like the easiest way. I nearly 100% of the game. I think they've added a few new quests, and the only thing I haven't done some of the post-game stuff with the 4 Arc Tamers or whatever the hell it was. I don't know. I loved the game. I just kind of wish they kept doing stuff with it. Okay, now, here's one of the big ones I want to talk about. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now, I absolutely loved these games, but they ran like shit. Now, I personally didn't encounter a whole lot of bugs that were like game-breaking or ruined my gameplay experience. I thought a lot of the bugs I experienced were funny. Now, the performance personally wasn't a major issue because for the most part it was just frame drops, and that kind of stuff doesn't bother me as much as it does a lot of other players, which is just like my personal experience. But one thing I will say, the co-op experience, although really cool, was really shitty. There was no reason really to play co-op with your friends. Like, if you wanted to do a raid with them or fucking whatever the hell they were, what are the terror raids? Yeah, if you wanted to do one of those with them, you could just send them a code, be like, join up. Or if you wanted to shiny hunt alongside them, half the time it was just, here, join my thing, let me make a sandwich, you shiny hunt in your playthrough, I'll shiny hunt in mine, kind of thing. And you guys would split up and then go shiny hunt on your own. Because being in co-op lowered the frame rate like crazy and lowered the spawns, so it was a net negative for playing co-op. Right now in the DLC there is a reason to play co-op. There's the Blueberry Academy, the points that you get, but aside from that, I don't think I touch co-op like ever. Even doing for a lot of the 7-star raids, I solo them. I spend hours building up my Pokemon. I have so many raid Pokemon, I don't even need them. I probably won't even need them. They're all shiny, except for the ones that are shiny locked. And it is crazy how much time I've dedicated into this game. And I will say, obviously, there's the limitations of the Switch, but I feel like that's also just a cop-out answer. Because, yes, the game isn't, even with the perfect optimization, the game's not going to run amazingly on the Switch. Okay? There are so many Pokemon, so many different moves, an obscene amount of data that has to be coded in. They have to have animations for every single move, which I honestly don't even know the number of moves in the game. But it's... I believe it's upwards in the thousands, if not more. So there's thousands of animations, and a lot of people say, oh, they're boring. But they also show up in the overworld, so they can't be as cinematic as like Sword and Shield had them. I think the base game alone had 400 Pokemon plus transfer Pokemon, and right now I think they're hitting upwards of like 700 to 900 Pokemon in the game, either obtainable through the DLCs or through transfer, and that's just an obscene amount of data to have in a single game for how poorly optimized it is. They could be doing so much better, and I have so much hope that the next console is strong enough to give Pokemon the potential they have. Because right now, from what I've heard, their coding is like fucking spaghetti code, where that shit's just tangled. It's like really poor coding. I don't know a whole lot about coding. I've learned like very, very little, but a lot of it just seems very poorly like optimized from what I've heard. And although I personally still love the games, still play them, I've played every single Pokemon mainline game. I have full living decks of every single Pokemon. Every single Nintendo Switch game I have a living deck for in my Pokemon home. I think I'm sitting at 3,000 to 4,000 Pokemon in my home, alongside all the shinies I have and all that. So I'm not saying I'm ever going to stop playing Pokemon. I probably won't. But I do think they need to do better, and they can do better. They're a multi-million, if not billion-dollar company. English, Jesus. And it's really sad to see just how far the quality has dropped. Because Legends Arceus was like a fresh breath of air. I fucking loved that game. I put hundreds of hours into that game. I think I was at 500, 600 hours when I stopped. I'm at about the same in Scarlet and Violet, but Legends Arceus had nearly nowhere near as much stuff to do as like Scarlet and Violet has, but it was still so much better of a game. And that's the thing. You don't need like 400 Pokemon and like this obscene crazy number of like quests, things to do in order to give the game like playability and like longevity. You just have to keep supporting it. Like if they had Legends Arceus and like actually gave it DLCs, gave it new areas, be like, oh look, this new area unlocked because you did A, B, and C or something like that. Like bro, I spent maybe 200, 300 hours perfecting my fucking decks. And I was like, this is going to be cool. I didn't expect to get anything out of it, and, whoa, you don't get anything from it. Aside from the 1 in 500 shiny odds for every single Pokemon, because that gives you an extra roll for hitting level 10 and perfect, and the shiny charm, all that shit. Now, I fucking loved Legends Arceus, but it was so painful to realize they gave up after giving it that first MMO, the mass outbreak stuff, and they were like, okay, we're done with the game. It sucked. I wanted more. I was talking about Scarlet and Violet, and I went on a rant about Legends. Anyways, Scarlet and Violet, that's what I want to talk about. The base game had like 400 plus Pokemon and transfer. There's a lot of data to pack in, but skip fucking spaghetti coding. Alright, I love Pokemon. I need that shit to do good. I want it to be good. But there's also people that compare it to Tears of the Kingdom, and oh, it annoys me so bad, because they are so very different that comparing them is fucking, like, so stupid. So, here's the thing. I talk a lot about the amount of info and, like, data they have to cram in order to get the game out, right? Like, get the game running and all that shit, because of how much Pokemon they have and how many different animations, all that shit. Now, Tears of the Kingdom, obviously, I want to clarify, I'm not ripping on it at all. I never even ended up playing any of those games. I have no interest in playing them. I've heard they're incredibly fun. That's fine. Enjoy what you enjoy. I personally don't have any interest in it. They seem cool. But Tears of the Kingdom, I looked on the wiki for all this shit, so if I get anything wrong, I apologize. But there were roughly like 23, 25 enemies, including bosses or something like that. And some of the enemies had upwards of like 8 variants or whatever the hell you want to call them. It was like different versions of the same enemy. And there's no issue with that. I want to clarify. No issue, because I know people get butthurt about like any of this shit, comparing them, being like, oh, you're criticizing for that. It doesn't matter. Anyways, if we highball it and say each boss had 10 variants, that's still only like 230, 250 enemy types. Now that's a lot. But the base game of Scarlet and Violet had 400 plus plus some transfer only Pokemon. And it's like they're not even comparable. There is so much more data that Pokemon needs to pack in. And also, I will say their devs, completely different games that they make. Like a turn-based game versus like actual combat that like Legends of Zelda has. Well, I don't know why my brain wandered so hard. Jesus. Like a turn-based combat versus like the open world actual combat in Tears of the Kingdom and stuff like that. Or what's the original one that people were? Breath of the Wild. That's the other one they compare it to. Holy. But I'm gonna compare it to Tears of the Kingdom because that's the one I kind of did a little bit of research on. Now, I'm not excusing Pokemon's very shit optimization of their game. But I'm also saying comparing the two is so stupid because they are completely different. The devs have completely different experience with different games. And that's part of the point. Game Freak needs to start hiring devs that are more used to making the games that they are trying to make. That was just a mini rant on that. I don't have a whole lot to say aside from that. I still love Pokemon, which is why it sucks to see how poor the quality games have become. I hope they do better. I am extremely hopeful for the future of the games, and I'm worried that's going to bite me in the ass. Alright. That's really all I have to say about the whole aspect of Pokemon. Pal World dropped, which put some stress on Pokemon from what I've heard, which is kind of funny. And I hope Pal World does so well. I hope it does really well and they like actually dedicate themselves to making the game better. Right now, from what I've seen, they are working really hard on doing it, and recently they're actually getting support from Xbox. I just hope they don't become complacent with how the game is, because their roadmap made me so hopeful, and I hope it doesn't end up being another Valheim where they have a roadmap, they don't follow it like for shit, and we just never see any of the good content. I love Pokemon. I love Pal World. I hope both do better in the future. Pal World, right now, I fucking love this game. I've been playing it a lot. I hope, and I hope, and I hope it doesn't end up being another Valheim or another Temtem or any game that just drops support and becomes fucking a fond memory, you know? I don't have a whole lot more to say about that. I ranted a little longer than I intended to. Yeah. Now I ask, what games disappointed you guys? My taste in games is a little smaller than most other people, so there's definitely way more games that would deserve to be mentioned, but that I just never heard of or never played, or that I just wasn't really that excited by, so I didn't feel disappointed by them. I mean Starfield when I say that. I didn't care much for it, so it being kind of meh wasn't really that big of a deal for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this new style of video. I'm not sure if I'm going to do many more. It is a lot of lengthy talking, and I don't like talking like that, but I also love the sound of my own voice, so who knows. Let me know what other kind of videos you guys want to see from me. I'm open to doing really whatever. I just want to have fun doing this kind of stuff. That's all for now. Have a great rest of your day, and adios.